some more perspective now from the only member of Congress to have served in both the first Gulf War and the Iraq War. We're delighted to welcome to the program Representative Mike Coffman, a Republican from Colorado. Congressman, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So you served in both of those wars?
I did.
So what do you see, as we watch together, what do you see in this conflict? What do you feel about what is happening that we may not?
Well, first of all, it breaks my heart that after the extraordinary sacrifices that so many men and women in uniform have made in terms of securing Iraq, that those are being washed away. But what I do see is a recurring pattern where the Sunni Arabs in Iraq feel that they've been pushed out, and they have, by a Shia-dominated government, and they're in rebellion. And there is a coalition, the same coalition that existed before, where you have tribal leaders, Sunni Arab militias, and jihadist elements aligned together for the purpose of pushing out the Shia government.
The White House is committing overall now 600 military personnel, half of them, of course, to protect the embassies, half to go on some sort of reconnaissance and cooperation mission. When you look at those sorts of figures, do you feel, I mean, there is an argument, of course, that Iran is already on the ground, and therefore, to a certain extent, this country has to respond because of what Iran is doing. Do you see that as a dynamic?
Yeah, I certainly agree that putting our forces into the embassy to secure the embassy is an important requirement that the United States has. But in terms of putting forward what is a symbolic military presence in what has devolved to be a sectarian war, without any preconditions upon the Iraqi government to reach out to the Sunni Arab population, the Kurds as well, in terms of reconciliation, I think sends a bad message.
So what do you think Secretary Kerry should do this weekend as he moves through the Middle East, Europe, and presumably meets Maliki?
Well, I think when he meets Maliki, he has to insist. He has to insist as a precondition. Of course, we've already committed some forces, but for any additional forces, that Maliki lay down the foundation. Well, first of all, it would be great if he stepped aside, but that this Shia-dominated Iraqi government lay a foundation for reconciliation. This is a political problem without a military solution.
Congressman, the White House is saying it's not at this stage considering airstrikes actively, but clearly that is on the cards. It would appear that the White House believes that it doesn't need to formally seek congressional approval from that. And we should remember, of course, last time that they wanted to intervene in Syria on the red line then, it became apparent that they couldn't get that past Congress. Do you think if there are to be airstrikes, they need to ask Congress? And do you think that it would be passed?
I think that the president should go to Congress and seek authority for any military action beyond what he's done. We'll have to debate the legality of whether or not he has that authority. I just don't think I don't think it would be effective. I don't think it would be effective because in terms of the areas that I was in, Ramadi, Fallujah, Haditha, Haqqaniya, Barwana, those communities that were Sunni communities that have all fallen to the opposition. The fact is that opposition, that military capability will merely fall back into the civilian population as they did before and launch a guerrilla war. And I don't see the areas, the non-Sunni dominated areas falling. I think all of those areas have already fallen. I think you have a mobilization of the Shia militias. I think you could argue that, in fact, the Iraqi army today, what is left of the Iraqi army is, in fact, a Shia militia in and of itself. Yeah. This is now a sectarian conflict. Reconciliation is the only solution, and that's a political solution.
Congressman, finally, we had a discussion here about what traders are worried about over the weekend. One fear is that, say, insurgents get to Samarra, they attack some truly holy sites. This becomes more of a regional play with Shiites around the region. Does that change the calculus at all for you?
Well, they've certainly done that before in February of 2006, and that really, certainly intensified the sectarian conflict within the country. and no doubt Sunni extremists will seek to do something like that. But it is already a conflict of a regional nature, and Iran is already involved in the conflict. And so I think we're kidding ourselves from that standpoint. I think the administration took their eye off the ball. I think that they wanted a political narrative that we were out of Iraq going into the 2012 election. And I think that without any residual forces there to have influence over the government and Iraq, I think it destabilized the country. And so I think, again, we've got to, prior to putting military forces in, there has to be a foundation for reconciliation.
Congressman, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us there. Representative Coffman, live from Capitol Hill. Thank you.